Welcome to episode 49 of Believe in TCU. As part of the Believe Network, I'm Zion Trammell, joined by Seth Dowdle. We've got our second episode here in just a few days. We're trying to ramp up the content, even though we're in sort of the off season here for TCU. It's that time of the year where college athletics is starting to die down. But before we know it, Seth, it's going to be football season.
We're picking it up, though. They're dying
We are.
down, and we've decided that we're going to ramp up.
Yeah. Well, we feel like I think we've just been having more time to put out more episodes, and so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to be talking about the College World Series as we're recording this on Thursday. It'll be starting tomorrow on Friday in Omaha. 8 teams left. TCU is not one of them. Sad.
Wait, what? So why are we talking about it? What does it even matter?
I know it doesn't matter, right? That's the only team. TCU's the only team that matters. And if we're not in it,
that was written in the stars many years ago. That TCU is the only team that matters. In fact, did you know that up until this point, every other College World Series that they've had, because they've only had the College World Series in 2010, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2023. TCU made it. And other than that, they decided that they weren't going to have it the second that TCU got out of the tournament. But this is the first year that's ever happening for some reason. I don't know why.
They decided to revamp it. Yeah. We should have an episode where we're pretending like it's the 2023 College World Series. Like, we've got a matchup here with Oral Roberts. What do we think's going to happen here? Lots of runs scored, my guess.
Blaze Brothers home run against
Really?
who was that off of?
Luke Savage?
Luke Savage, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I saw at Rangers spring training, by the way. I saw Luke Savage at Rangers spring training in March.
That's pretty cool.
Just milling around the backfields.
Hopefully he could come up with the Rangers at some point. But anyways, let's get back on track here. We're talking about the College World Series. We're gonna just kind of go through the first set of matchups, and Seth will kind of let you talk about some of your thoughts on this bracket and who you think is going to come out of it. So in bracket, there's 2 different brackets. Obviously, the first game is at 2:00 on ESPN. It'll be Coastal Carolina taking on the Big 12 tournament champion Arizona Wildcats, and then at 7:00 it'll be Oregon State and Louisville. I think this is the easier of the, I would say, well, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like the winner of the second bracket is going to be winning the College World Series, in my opinion.
Maybe. If you think that the winner of the second bracket is playing is Arkansas or LSU, I don't think that it's the other two there. I think that legitimately 3 teams. Well, we'll talk about them a little bit. I think that 3 teams. I disagree. I think that 3 teams in this top bracket can win it all, particularly Oregon State. The Oregon State story is one that we've talked about a lot because obviously TCU was in the Corvallis Regional, and we talked a lot about how Oregon State, they're an independent this year because the Pac-12 blew up. But is I don't know if you've heard this, is being reincarnated next year, featuring Fresno State this time. New and improved, some are saying. And they only played 19 home games because they had to scrabble together a schedule, mostly against teams in the Big West. They had to go out to Hawaii. They had to, do all these types of things to get a schedule together. In doing that, they were still very good. They earned a top 8 seed, got to host a regional, but then they lose their first game of that regional to St. Mary's. Nick Giramonte is celebrating somewhere when this happens. We are celebrating somewhere when this happens. I just want to point that out there. But then they get off the mat. They completely make TCU look like a bunch of little babies in the losers bracket, and then they go on to win 4 more games in a row after that, or 3 more games in a row after that, and win the Corvallis Regional, and then beat Florida State in the Super Regional, and they're here now. So I definitely think that they are so battle tested at this point, which was my biggest question for them coming into this, was, are they battle tested enough with their schedule? I definitely think they are now at this point. and I think that they have a shot here to win it all.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, they've got a good shot here. Didn't mean to throw shade at bracket one, but it's kind of a you'll see with my second bracket who I think is gonna
Interesting.
win
There's
this.
not as many, because bracket 2 has like, while it might not have as many contenders in my opinion, it definitely has more stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, Louisville. I still don't know anything about this team. I say that because I didn't watch their super regional against Miami. They just haven't gotten to me yet. I'm not like
Maybe they'll
I'm
get
not.
you when they hoist the trophy at the end, and we're talking about Louisville winning the national title, and Zion gets on the pod and goes, "I just don't know anything about Louisville." To be quite honest,
Even if they hoist the trophy, I'm still not going to be moved. I'm gonna be like, okay, cool. Like I just I can't say I've been drawn to Louisville, but I am very much drawn to Coastal Carolina. They're my pick to make it out of this bracket and all the way to the championship game. I mean, look, they're probably the hottest team coming into this thing, right? I mean, they've won what, like 23, 24 games in a row, something like that. Do you know the
yeah,
number?
it's something like that. They're on a heater for sure, though.
They've got good arms there. Jacob Morrison, their ace, I believe, in Coastal Carolina. Caden Boating is hitting 466. I was looking that up before we started the episode. That is insane. Like, that's an incredibly I just couldn't believe it. 466. But I really like what I've seen from Coastal Carolina. I think they're going to take care of Arizona. Unfortunately, I was pretty surprised that they were able to get 2 back-to-back against UNC, but I think their run ends pretty early. And I like Coastal Carolina to make a run here and do this thing, but I think it'll most likely come down to either them or Oregon State.
Yeah, I think Coastal obviously has not been here since 2016 when they won the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, I figured out why that was such like a nondescript thing in the universe. Do you want to know what channel the Arizona Coastal Carolina final game, Game 3 of the College World Series, aired on in 2016? Do you know what channel it aired on?
Nope.
ESPNU.
Wow, that's weird.
The
What's
disrespect for
ESPN? That
Coastal
is
Carolina,
really,
Arizona.
yeah, that is really disrespectful.
I believe it was due to some, like the Euros were that year, and ESPN had the rights to the Euros, and there was probably something else that was happening. I don't know, but anyway, do not disrespect the Coastal Carolina. If they make the College World Series final again, do not disrespect them. If it's Coastal Carolina, Murray State, put that thing on ABC in primetime, please.
Do it. Let's do this, man. Get Joe Davis somehow. Like, even though he's with Fox, let's get this going. Let's do it. Let's get Joe Buck. Actually, there we go. Let's get Joe
Actually,
Buck on the
Joe Buck,
call.
Coastal Carolina, Murray State.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I like that. So Coastal Carolina, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Is Oregon State your pick to?
I think Oregon State is my pick, though. I'll talk about kind of more storyline reasons when we get to bracket 2. Why I kind of want Oregon State to come out of this for a particular story.
Mm-hmm.
But I also just think that they're the best team in this side of the bracket, and I think you could also make the argument that they might be the best team left in the tournament.
That's fair. That's it'll be interesting to see. I think since that St. Mary's loss, they've just been red hot. So should be a lot of fun. Bracket 2, we've got UCLA taking on Murray State, as we mentioned, on June 14th, and then the big game, Arkansas LSU. So a lot of people have been saying, I've as I was doing, I was kind of curious what other people were saying about this Arkansas LSU series, and a lot of people, particularly SEC fans, think that the winner of this game is going to likely determine who comes out of this bracket. Because if you fall in the losers bracket right away, that's extremely difficult to crawl out of it. And for Arkansas LSU, that seems like it's going to be the most important game possibly.
I don't think I would disagree with that totally. I think that they're, kind of on the right track. Yeah, big one for sure, because I think both teams would like their odds in game 2 against either UCLA or Murray State. But, having to go in the losers bracket and, have to win 4 games in a row, then to, get out of there is really tough, for sure. And then you got to go on and play a whole nother series after that is over. You think that saving pitching is hard for a regional. You have to win essentially a regional here and then play a 3-game series like a day after. So it's really, really tough, for sure. But yeah, I definitely don't think I disagree with that at all. Just because, I think it would have been fun to potentially see that game in like a semifinal instead of like the first game out. But I think it'll definitely set the tone for the tournament, how that game goes. Because if that game's a classic, then I think we might be in for a couple more throughout.
Yeah, that's no thoughts on Murray State making a Cinderella run.
I guess we have to talk about it.
Yeah, it's typically where a lot of Cinderella runs kind of come to an end, but why doubt them now?
Why doubt them now? The last time we saw a 4 seed make it this far was that Oral Roberts team in 2023 that did win a game. And they played Florida pretty close in their next one before ultimately, losing to TCU again. There has only been one 4 seed to ever win the College World Series. Do you know who they are?
How many 4 seeds?
One. There's been one 4 seed
one
that has won the College World Series. And it was in 2008, I believe, 2008.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Fresno State won the College World Series in 2008. So will that happen with Murray State? I'm not saying I'm rooting against it. I doubt it. It would be really cool, but definitely a tough task.
Yeah, it's not easy. They'll be taking on UCLA, but yeah, Seth, I wanted to ask you. So you're an Arkansas fan. What are your thoughts about? Because I'm picking Arkansas versus Coastal Carolina. That's my College World Series championship matchup. What do you think about Arkansas making a run? Do you think they can finally do it this year?
If they beat LSU, I think they do it.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then that doesn't mean that they're not going to, but it becomes so much harder, for sure.
Yeah, and I actually looked this up. Only twice has a team lost its first game and proceeded to win the title, and it was Oregon State in 2006 and 2018.
And who did they beat in 2018, Zion? In that
TCU?
final? Arkansas.
Oh, they beat Arkansas?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Wow.
That is, to the uninitiated and the unfamiliar, this is why I'm picking Arkansas Oregon State to be a rematch of that 2018 College World Series final, where Arkansas was 1 out away from winning the national championship in Game 2, and then they did not catch the foul ball.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, I've seen that play before. Guys, bear with me. I'm kind of a new college baseball fan, so I don't know the lore and history of everything, but I have seen that play. That's bad.
They did not catch a foul ball. Then they tied it. Oregon State then tied it on a homer, I think that same at bat, or maybe, I don't know, in that same inning, right? They tie it on a homer, and then Adley Rutschman hits the go-ahead single in Game 2 to win it for Oregon State. And then Oregon State wins Game 3 and wins the national championship.
That's disgusting. That's heartbreaking.
That
is absolutely disgusting.
And that's where I want it to happen again. I want there to be, if Arkansas is to win a national championship this year, it will be great no matter who it's against. But if it happens to be against Oregon State, I think that will be very cathartic for a lot of people in Fayetteville.
It would be. I mean, yeah, I think obviously be great no matter what. But yeah, against the team that you lost to and you were that close to doing it. Um, yeah. I mean, I think Arkansas is probably the most balanced team in the tournament. They're sixth in the country in slugging, 558 slugging percentage. Uh, their strikeout rate is extremely high, also in the top 10 in the country. I feel good about the Razorbacks finally doing it this year. I think they can pull through. They were my
Yeah,
pick at the beginning, and I'm sticking with
yeah,
it.
me as well. I'm gonna pick it as well. But it does really come down to that first game where it's going to be a battle between Arkansas and LSU. And, I feel really good. If this was 2023 LSU, not feeling so hot. But Paul Skeens is not throwing for LSU. And if Paul Skeens isn't throwing for LSU, you have a chance against LSU.
Yeah. You at least have somewhat of a fighting chance. If it was Paul Skeens, yeah, it's game over.
It is
That
crazy.
team was stacked.
I'm thinking back just to that roster. Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens, Tommy Tanks. People forget about Tommy White.
Yeah.
Just such a great team. And Wake Forest almost had him. People forget that Wake Forest was right there, going to beat them. And then Florida just ran out of gas. I think the final score of that final game was it was a bad blowout, I think.
It was, yeah. I think it was like 17-3 or something, 14-3 something. It was bad. There was and just thinking back to that College World Series, there's a ton of like major league talent in that tournament. And that, I mean, you mentioned Paul Skeens, Wyatt Langford, Dylan Cruz, I mean, Braden Taylor. There was a ton of really. What were some of the other teams that were there? Because I'm thinking LSU, Florida, Wake Forest.
Wake Forest. Rhett Lauder was a top pick for Wake Forest and is like a Reds top prospect right now. Blaze Brothers played for the Cleveland Railroaders right after he got done with Oral Roberts. I'm joking. Who else? Yeah, who else was there? Virginia. There had to be some Virginia players that were probably.
But again, that was only a couple years ago, and we're already seeing that like play out in Major League Baseball. Obviously, that it usually takes a while for some of these guys to get there, but Wyatt Langford and Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz are already doing their thing. So
that was a good tournament. I really miss that. That was a really good tournament, and that was one of those where it's like, you wish that they told you when you were in the good old days when they're happening, sort of thing.
Yeah. Definitely. I thought maybe that there could be a chance this TCU team could make it there, but I think, next year, I think there's a really good shot that the Horned Frogs could be in this, depending on how things fall in the transfer portal. Seth, this just came into I just thought about this. We do have something to talk about with TCU because they did get somebody out of the transfer portal. Oh, they did. They got Ethan Thomas from Hawaii. If you recall, JD Andrus on this show said a few episodes ago that he was the first name he mentioned as a guy that TCU had talked to and somebody that the Horned Frogs could go after him. And a couple days later, he's a Horned Frog. He's with TCU. So that's obviously really exciting news. I just thought of that on the fly. That was not pre-planned, but I forgot about it, and it just popped in my head. Yeah,
pretty good for Eshman at Hawaii. Didn't throw a lot of innings, but it looked like the innings that he did throw, he was pretty decent. I've heard that TCU really likes kind of like the underlying metrics and stuff like that from him. So, well, interested to see how he factors into this TCU pitching staff next season.
Yeah, I don't know a ton, admittedly, about Ethan Thomas. Can't say I watched too much Hawaii baseball, but I'm excited. Very, very excited.
I got to tell you, though, a little side tangent and a side dream of mine that might be a pipe dream is to get Hawaii baseball to host a regional one day.
quite. That would be sweet.
I so want there to be a regional in Hawaii. One, because it would just be so messed up to send 3 other teams to Hawaii for a weekend.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyway, get Hawaii to Omaha is my dream. That's it, really.
Well, let's make it happen. We could see a player from Hawaii playing in a regional next year, but we'll see. He posted a 3.6 ERA with 37 strikeouts in 25 innings. His fastball sits around 92, 94, can top at 95. He's got pretty electric stuff. I can't remember. I think JD said he had a cutter as well, or a sinker.
I think so, yeah.
I can't remember. I'll have to go back and listen, but yeah, he's got pretty electric stuff, and exciting that you get that first commitment out of the portal, and hopefully we'll see where TCU can go next. And it's a big bullpen arm like that. We're just making that clear. He's not a starting pitcher. He is a guy that'll come out of the bullpen. Recorded a few saves for Hawaii this season. So it's an exciting addition for TCU, and hopefully more to come here in the next couple weeks.
Definitely, yeah, I think we'll be seeing a lot more, especially once, the season actually fully wraps up for everybody. Not saying that there's any transfers from any of the Omaha 8 that will come to TCU, but certainly everyone will start ramping up the off season once the actual season is done and dusted.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is going to wrap things up here. It's more of a quick episode. Just wanted to give some thoughts on the College World Series. Again, Seth has versus Oregon State in the national championship. For me, I'm going with Arkansas and Coastal Carolina. The Hogs winning the whole thing. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll be discussing things next week about the results of these games, and obviously an exciting time of the year for college baseball. So thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Believe in TCU. You can follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube page, or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.